welcome to Old Car Auto Guy. That's me, and Straight Sixfan, which is over there. And we've got our special guest on the Carrguy and Sixfan show down here, over here, Snydertron 3000. Josh, welcome to the channel, and welcome to this episode of Carrguy and Sixfan with our special guest. And I hope that everybody is all settled in because we've got one action-packed show for you guys to kind of cram into about a half-hour segment here with our special guest. So I've introduced myself. I'm going to let this guy over here, introduce himself. Go ahead, Grant.
Yeah, so Grant Tommy of Straight Sixfan, the second half of the Carrguy and Sixfan show. On my channel, I like to focus on budget-minded, relatable, creative builds. A little something I like to call offbeat hot rodding. But welcome to another Thursday night. We think it's going to be a pretty good show. We've been on a pretty good roll. So thanks again, everybody, for dropping in, especially some of the usuals like Eford Garage, Trucker Dave Main, American Bumper to Bumper, as well as some of the new names like Kevin Shear, 0485. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the show. I'll send it back over to Jason and let him take it from here.
How do you get that so easily? It comes natural to point at the right spot. See, this is some of the things that we got to get used to on this new platform. Anyways, guys, we've got a lot to talk about tonight. I want to take a second to introduce our special guest. But before I do that, if you're here and you're watching it right now, now is the time to click that share button right down below the screen right now and send this out to all your friends. Make sure that they know that you're watching, as well as you're having some fun. You want to come in and talk about cars. If you're into cars, this is the channel to do that. And we want to make sure that everybody gets out and sees what's going on here on the Carrguy and Sixfan show. We want to get this thing built up. We're up to 8 viewers at the moment. But without further ado, I want to introduce the largest channel that we've ever had as a guest on the show. And I believe Josh is sitting somewhere around 33,000 subs at the moment. So Josh, welcome to the show. Why don't you tell everybody who just crawled out from under a rock that doesn't know who you are, a little bit about yourself, and a little bit about your channel.
So my name is Joshua Snyder. Basically, I just make crappy videos of slow cars for the most part. I mean, if you listen to the comment section, they're all crappy videos and crappy cars, so I'll embrace it.
Well, that seems to be the trend with myself. Maybe I can't speak for Grant, but I'm sure he's probably feeling the same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how else you describe a 1978 Ford Fairmont than crappy. I mean,
mint.
Yeah, we got to be careful when we do that nowadays, because some people take that the wrong way. This is a politically correct show, just saying.
Well, actually, while we're on the topic of crappy cars, I've just been kind of introduced to this show on Netflix called Fastest Car. Have either of you guys seen that?
Yep.
I don't think so.
Okay, so it's basically a supercar. It's a 4-way drag race, a supercar paired up against 3 sleepers. But I've only made it through 3 episodes, and I have found that sleeper may be a looser term used on that show than than rat rod. You know, we had that topic a while ago about what's your definition of rat rod, because, like, you know, everybody and their mother puts anything that's got rust on it. Doesn't matter really what the car is. They just call it a rat rod when they sell it on Craigslist. But I mean, some of these cars I wouldn't consider traditional sleepers, and it's kind of. I mean, I still enjoy the show, but I'm just kind of like, okay, no, that's not what I'd call a sleeper. So I'm just kind of curious what your guys' take on. We'll start with you, Josh, just since you've seen the show. How kind of would you define sleeper?
I would say sleeper is pretty much anything that, for the most part, you wouldn't expect to be fast. And I get that's kind of what they were going for in the show, but I mean, those are full-on race cars that just have stock bodies for the most part.
Right.
Like, I don't know what episode it is, but at one point, Lyle Barnett comes in there with the Beer Money Mustang, and that thing's like an 850s car. It's full-on race car, and they're like, "Oh, it's a sleeper." And it's like, come on, it's not.
Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Jason.
No, I was just going to say, like, to me, the total essence of sleeper is something you would expect to be stock that's not. You can't hear the difference. You can't see the difference. But when go means go, it's gone. So my goal in the future, Josh, you and I were kind of talking about this a little bit before we get live with Grandma, is to have something that, it may look a little better than stock, but for the most part, people aren't going to know that this car can get up and pass anything that gets in its way. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for in the future. So yeah, I think sleeper with a full-on race car underneath is one thing, but sleeper, when something just pulls up to you and you look over and you just kind of give it a wave on your way by, you would never think anything of it.
Yeah, that's basically where I'm at, Jason. Like some of these cars, like the pilot episode was like a 27 Dodge pickup, which was cool looking. Like, don't get me wrong, but it had nitrous bottles you could see on the bed. So that like does not equal sleeper to me. And then there was this chick driving a long bed C10. Again, cool truck, but it had a blower sticking out of the hood. And then she also was quoted as saying she didn't believe in power adders. So you'll find no turbos or nitrous on my truck. And she had a freaking supercharger on it. Like that is very poor editing. Like
Right.
So I was just like, okay, I'm with you. What you said, Jason. It's like, I don't want to see anything popping through the hood, when it rolls up. Like, if I can see a cage and you have 14-inch wide tires on the back, I know something is up. Whether you still figured out how to put hubcaps on the 14-inch wide tire on the back, like, I don't know. Anyway, still enjoyable show. I kind of took the show off topic a little bit, but I'll recede now.
Well, that's okay. That can kind of be the segue into our automotive topic this week. But before we get there, we do want to make mention of some of the other guys that have jumped in here, and gal. I see there's a Jess is in there, which I assume, Josh, is your other half.
That's
and we've got Kip's in there, America Bumper to Bumper. We've got Rough Rods Restos, Eric Stinberg, Kevin Shear is there, as well as Rust Belt Mechanic, Jay Young. And we're scrolling down through here. Shane of Winnipeg Car Life is in the house, as well as Greg Tank Johnson is a new name to the show. I have not seen Greg Tank Johnson in here before. Novotaz has made it in. And we scroll back down through here, and I think we've got just about everybody. So welcome everybody to the show. If you haven't done so yet, give this show a big thumbs up, share it out with your friends, and make sure that everybody knows that Snydertron 3000 is in the house, and he is our special guest. So as we kind of move into our second topic of tonight, we last week we kind of touched on what our favorite cars of the 60s were, and I had kind of narrowed that down to the AMC AMX. And Grant, you had chose the, I forget.
I even forget myself. Oh, it was a Galaxy Wagon. That's what it was.
Oh, right, the Galaxy Wagon. So this week we've kind of narrowed it down even further to muscle cars from Grant. What did you say? From 64 to 72, I think you said.
Yep.
So, Josh, have you found anything in that category yet that you thought would be your official muscle car to choose?
I think I'd have to go with there's so many to choose from, and I love everything. And if we're talking actual muscle cars, I'd probably go with like a 64, 65 Barracuda. But if we're going to allow a little bit of that leeway, when we were talking earlier, that Econoline pickup would be sweet.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we're looking for is, I mean, it's very easy to say, a Camaro, a Mustang, a Corvette, stuff like that. And generally speaking, Grant and I were always kind of thinking off the beaten path a little bit when it comes to that. And I know that Novotaz is in the chat here, and I know that he would appreciate the fact that, in my first thought was to go with a Nova, because they weren't meant to be a muscle car. They were meant to be a granny grocery getter type car. They came in different variants of 4 doors and 2 doors and this and that. But at the end of the day, I'm going to do a quick screen share here. I don't have to screen share. You all know the General Lee. It's such an iconic car for me. growing up in the 70s and knowing that car and seeing that car as very recognizable. And I believe specifically the car was a 68. Maybe you guys can correct me on that, with the dual taillights.
In the show, it was supposed to be
Sorry.
69, I think.
Yeah, so regardless, 68, 69,
Yeah.
the orange generally is very iconic. And when I associate that era with muscle car, that is kind of what kind of comes to my mind, is that. And TV, of course, had a lot to do with that. So, Grant, what are you thinking as far as yours goes?
Okay, so if it was straight up just for investment purposes, it'd be hard for me to pass up a 1970 Barracuda. Almost, AAR Cuda, 346 pack, like any of those. Like, I just, you guys know I'm a Ford guy at heart, but that's just, I've always loved Mopar's graphics packages, their paint schemes, and things like that. But it's just hands down BA car. But if I wanted to be a little bit different, if I could only like build one and I wanted to stand out, I would probably, let's see if I can get this work, little screen share action, I would probably go for one of these. Jason, you might have to approve. There we go.
Yep.
One of those fish mouth 1972 Ford Torinos. Sorry. That's my kind of response to the. And I saw it in the chat. I think it was. I want to say it was Rust Belt Mechanic. Someone said a 1970 Chevelle SS 454. This would be my Ford response to that car. That was my brother's favorite car, but this would be my gig.
Yeah, and those are pretty cool because they are unique. And again, one of those cars that, yes, they came with a V8, and most likely weren't meant to be a hot rodded or street rodded type car. But if you go back in those days, you take guys like us who would pick up something like that because it had a V8 in it, and either if you couldn't make it go fast, you'd definitely make it sound fast. So straight pipe it one way or the other. Anyways, so and that's kind of what the gig is with this show, and that's kind of what we talk about when we talk about automotive news or automotive chat. Is we like to take something a little bit quirky and kind of get some everybody's spin on it. And of course, if you're following the chat, you'll see that some of these guys are talking 72 Rancheros. Somebody else, I think, said a 426 Hemi Cuda, as well as a Mustang Cobra. Somebody else, I think, threw in there a Gremlin X, which I would 100% have to agree with a Gremlin X.
I'm a little
again, there's
myself for that. I didn't think of it. Dang it, I should have thought of that.
Well, it's just one of those cars that you certainly wouldn't expect to be classified as a muscle car. It was certainly not a car that was ever meant to be that, but somebody had the brain-haired scheme to make it happen. So I'm thankful for that. So it's just some of the things that we like to do as car guys, is to take something that's not meant to be and make it so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also saw Ford Maverick and Kevin Shear. If you didn't know, that's one of my dream builds as well. So I appreciated that one as well. But since we got started, of course, we've had Rough Rods Restos, Carter Quibell. Hopefully I'm saying that right. Rust Belt Mechanic, as well as the Master Apprentice, our buddy Ron, show up. So guys, welcome to the live stream, as well as Mr. Mach 1. And so anyway, just wanted to say welcome to all of you guys. If you haven't had a chance, either hit the thumbs up button down below, as well as if you don't want to do that, or you've already done that, we wouldn't mind if you went ahead and shared this out on your social media. Get more people in here and make this show a more happening place.
And not to mention the fact that, guys, if you're in the chat and you don't recognize somebody's name that's in there, go ahead and check them out to see if they have a channel, see if they've got some videos posted, because that's what we're here for. Is we're here to help spread the word of some of you guys who are there with smaller channels who are trying to get some exposure. One of the things that I am thankful for Josh for is giving me a shout out once upon a time on his channel, and therefore it helped me grow a little bit. So Josh, officially in person, thank you for that shout out way back in the day.
No problem.
And helping me gain some traction with that. So as you guys know, I am trying to get to 2,000 subscribers, and I was going to wait till a little bit later in the show to mention this. I'm currently sitting at 1844. When we get to 2,000 subscribers, I am going to release the video of me blowing up my 2009 Kia Sportage, aka Project Bubbles. We did blow Bubbles up this past Sunday, and I've been leaking all kinds of stuff on Instagram, and I'm hoping you guys are following me over there. If not, go over and do so. It's Old Car Auto Guy, and you'll see a lot of those teaser photos and videos and this and that of getting Bubbles up to getting blown up. So thank you guys for all that. I appreciate all the help. Josh, thanks for the shout out, and we want to thank Grant as well for having this show and co-hosting this to help each of us and to grow our channel. So I just want to throw that out there.
Speaking of Josh helping you out, Carrguy, over the course of time, one thing that this show is always meant to be about, Josh, is us helping out everybody in the live chat. Anybody who views this with a little tip or trick or maybe a lesson learned we've learned over our career of YouTube. So I guess we'll kind of, since you're the guest this week, we'll kind of throw it to you. What one thing have you found, whether it's recently or maybe it's a reflection thing, looking back on your time here on YouTube from 0 to 33,000 subscribers now? What's maybe a thing maybe you wished you would have known earlier, or maybe it's just a new little hack trick?
I think the biggest thing that I've been telling people recently that have been like messaging me and wanting to get advice is, like, when they want to start a channel, is don't worry about the cameras or the editing software or anything like that, and accept that your first like 5 or 10 or whatever videos are going to kind of suck. If you can accept that and move on, you'll have like a creative freedom to do whatever.
Yeah, I think
that's kind of where I got caught up too. Sorry, Grant was just trying to figure out how I was going to do this, and I mean, just like most of us, probably it started off with a phone. Making a video here or there. And in fact, probably my first 2 or 3 videos were even edited on my phone for the sake of putting something together. So it's, don't worry about having the best equipment and the best software and this and that.
Oh, yeah.
Just the hardest part with getting on YouTube is getting yourself comfortable in front of the camera, regardless of what that camera looks like.
And then, sorry, real quick.
No,
I got a buddy that's thought about starting a channel, and he keeps saying like, I should go out and buy a brand new GoPro, whatever. And it's like, start making a few videos first, because you may not actually like doing it. So it sucks to spend like $1,000 or $1,500 on a laptop and stuff and find out you hate doing it.
Yeah, and one of the things I always tell people is when they ask that, and like, I don't know, man, and you start hearing the excuses like, no, seriously, I'll send them a link to my first video. It's like, go watch it.
Oh, yeah.
The first video is going to be the suckiest one, so just get it out of the way, for one. And 2, it's like, there's something nice to be said about setting the bar so dang low. It's like, just don't stub your toe the next time.
Yeah. Well, and that's the part of it, right? Like, it's when you look at that first video, like I go back and watch some of my old videos, I'm thinking, man, how dorky is that? But it's setting a bar, really. You started off being so immature, so to speak, in front of the camera, that all you can do is get better. And I've gone from taking videos where you're editing out every 3rd or 4th sentence that you say because you stutter so bad, to now I'm pretty good at just kind of carrying on a total conversation without having to go back and spend so much time editing it or cutting it down. So like some of the biggest channels out there, I say biggest, I know that I'll throw Street Speed 717. He's big by our standards, as hitting close to 1 million subscribers.
Automotive guy goes,
yeah, but I mean, he's sitting there, he's doing all of his video with a single GoPro, no external camera, no handheld components. It's just this, and that's all he does. And he turns out some pretty decent videos using just that. So you don't necessarily need to have, that $8,000-9,000 camera to make it work. So and that's a really good point.
Josh, one thing I'm curious to get you to react to or kind of pick your brain on is, how do you, when you edit your videos, how do you determine? One of the things I struggle with, I always think it's so easy to point at something and then just talk.
Yeah.
And I think when I reflect on myself as a consumer, I'm like, that's not very entertaining for me. So I'm always like, but then you also want, it's like this, I'm always fighting this, like it's a pseudo how-to, it's somewhat of a vlog, but then I want to entertain people. So how do you, when you're in editing, how do you decide what stays in and what doesn't?
This is gonna sound super douchey, but for the most part, I try to treat every video kind of like a story. So if it makes sense to the story, then I'll leave it in. That's basically just the rule I've been following for the past few months. So it's like, it's easy to be like, this is kind of a how-to, it's kind of a vlog. It's easier if you just look at it as a story, to me at least.
And for someone, and I get that, because for someone who uploads quite regularly, and I think, Josh, you're doing what, a couple of videos a week, maybe 3 in some cases?
It's pretty much just whenever I can now. I was doing daily videos, and that sucked.
Well, it puts a lot of stress on your time, right? So one of the things that I'm finding is that if you're following a specific YouTuber, and we're just going to use Josh as an example because I follow him and I watch his videos. It's watching each video and how it does kind of tell a story, so that the next video that comes out, you kind of almost know a little bit about what he's talking about, because the video before may have led up to it, or the next video coming up will lead into something else. So that's one of the things I like about watching Josh, and the fact that he's sometimes beats up on himself a little bit with how he may or may not do things on the show. But there's comedy in there for as well, a little bit of comedy relief, and of course his dad is a huge part of the channel by times, and brings a lot of character to the show as well.
Yeah, he is a character, man.
Yeah, I think that dynamic always been able to have a father-son. For instance, like in the chat, Scott's Speed Shop, his dad shows up quite a bit. I think that always adds a little extra to it. But as far as that goes, when we're talking about Jason, you kind of left off talking about how Josh's videos set up the next one pretty well. We usually do little channel updates and kind of inside what to expect next. So, Josh, why don't you let us know? We'll let you start. What's a channel update for you? What should viewers expect coming out next from you?
Well, I just got a few goodies for the Turbo LS RX-7 that I'm building. A couple of them are already mounted on the car, so that's kind of a hint there. And I'm super excited about it, and I'm gonna have to roll some fenders. And then, for the most part, still just trying to make everything faster. I mean, there's no secret there. Everything can be faster.
Yeah, and that's for those of you who don't know, his RX-7 is nicknamed James Brown, and all of his vehicles that he does have on the show that make regular appearances do have some pretty catchy names. James Brown is the RX-7. He's got Goldie Hawn, which I believe is an early 2000s
2000
GMC Sierra or Silverado.
Yep,
and then he's got the OBS, which was nicknamed Jack Black. So a lot of these cars that are coming in and out, that is one of the things that kind of drew me in as well, was knowing that, going old school with some of these names and naming these vehicles. I thought it was pretty cool. Grant, why don't you give us a little bit of an update on some of the things that are coming along with the Project Low Fairmont?
Yeah, it's the never-ending 5-lug swap, rear disc brake, everything. It's like, it seems like each month goes by, and I'm like, surely I'll get it done before November hits, right? But as you guys know, from Sunday, I found a leak in my brake line, so I've got to reflare that line. And I don't know. I'll ask. Well, I'm not the expert here. Tell me, is it a bad idea to use Teflon tape on brake line fittings?
Yeah, I don't think I'd be using it because they're compression fitting already. They're sealing in 2 different fashions. So one is the actual thread that you're threading it into, just like a regular bolt. But the double flare on the end is what's actually compressing to seal that union. So if you're still leaking without the Teflon tape, then you need to redo the flare.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my 2 cents.
Well, they showed up in a couple spots, so I'm going to be trying to track that down. I took apart the caliper Sunday night after I stopped recording, and I thought it was leaking from where the parking brake assembly was, but there's really nothing that it could leak through or from. So hopefully that was just kind of dumb luck that there was just fluid kind of looking like it came from it. I don't know, but I think I'm just going to reassemble the rear caliper, and I think hopefully it was just one loose fitting and then reflare the one end that I did.
Well, and the benefit of doing brake lines that I've found is of course I don't work on a lot of cars anymore, but if you're doing brake lines and you're flaring ends, by the time you get to your last one, you've gotten good at it. It's kind of the way that I feel. So, you do the first 2 or 3 and they're kind of sucky and you're wondering if you're going to leak or not. And then by the time you get to the very last one you're doing, you're like, hey, that was pretty good. And then when you go to bleed your brakes, everything else is leaking. But it's practice makes perfect. And that's what, if you're not doing them very often, it's going to take a little bit to get back into it. That's all. So, never hurts to go back and do, cut that little bit of flare off there and try it again.
Well, and in fairness, that was literally the first one I'd ever done. Number 2 and number 3 didn't leak, so.
Well, there you go. So we talk about channel updates. I already kind of gave you guys a little bit of an update on my channel with Project Bubbles. I cannot express how excited I am to launch this video. I know that there's a lot of guys out there who are waiting to see this thing, and I've been dropping a few more. Not just teasers on Instagram, but to some of my close friends like Grant, I've been showing a little bit more of the project and how everything went down. And look, I must have watched this video, or at least that 2.5 minutes of the actual explosion, about 50 times now since editing it. So everybody wants to see it. In fact, I had somebody actually come into the shop today asking if they could see the video, and I'm like, no, you can't see the video. You've got to get me there. So Project Bubbles aside, channel updates. You guys know that I'm looking for a beater, a Bubbles 2 or 2.0 per se. And last week we took in on trade an 06 Chrysler 300. That car essentially is really too good of a vehicle to do what we're likely planning to do with the car. So the Chrysler 300 is out. So those of you who thought maybe we were going to be dropping a Hemi into that thing and sticking some turbos on it, no, I'm sorry, that's not going to happen. But today I actually took on trade a 2000 Volkswagen Passat wagon with a 1.8 turbo. The bones of the car we got up on the hoist today are really good. So my next video is going to be a little bit about showing you this particular car and the fact that it quite possibly could be Bubbles 2.0. So stay tuned for that video. That video will drop on Saturday morning. And so I'll be looking for your guys' input to see what you think about the VW.
Well, Mr. Mach 1 dropped a question in the comments that I wanted to respond to because it sets us up great for how we want to kind of start to set up the end of this show. And he's asking, what is Josh's channel name? So sorry if you've just now joining us. We have with us Snydertron 3000 is the channel name. And so this part of the episode is typically when we try to highlight some sort of channel, some sort of build, something for you guys. And so obviously that guest is over there that way. That is Josh, Snydertron 3000. So Josh, one of the questions I wanted to kind of throw your way to help you promote your channel is, when you think back of all the videos you've put out there, what is your, kind of off the top of your head, your favorite? We'll go maybe up to top three videos in your mind from your own channel, or if it's only two is fine.
Oh man, that's tough because like the critic part of me doesn't really like any of them. Like it's hard for me to be entertained by them, but like I'd say this most recent one that I put out made me laugh a lot just because my buddy Chris just had a terrible time with a tube of RTV and he got that everywhere. So like some of the funnier ones are the ones that stand out to me. One of the real early videos was, again, my buddy Chris, we were like reviving this Jeep that he got. and the whole thing was just, for the lack of a better word, it was a shit show. And that one, every now and then, like, my buddies and I will bring it back up and we'll all go and watch it and just have a great time laughing at how stupid we were.
I remember that video, especially the part where you're trying to, what were you trying to put gas in something? It was spilling all over the place.
Yeah.
Anyways,
It had one of those like safety caps to where when you put it in the thing, it slides back, and he pulled it back and it funneled everywhere except in the bottle he was trying to pour it into.
Well, I know one of my favorites. It kind of responds to the topic we started the show off with fastest car on Netflix. Was I think I've only watched 3, maybe 4 episodes, and the last one had a late 70s Coupe de Ville Cadillac. And again, it didn't fall into the category of, it had a freaking giant hood scoop coming, like you could see the dual quad carbs sticking out of the hood. Like, okay, that's where you kind of lose the sleeper credibility. Like, we just know you have a killer motor under there. But you had done, I think it was a customer from Colorado even, you guys put a 6-liter in a late 70s Cadillac of your own. That's the kind of stuff that I geek out to, are things like that.
Oh man, I love that car so much. That's actually my buddy Dustin, who lives in town with me. Well, actually, I think he moved to Lansing. But we were trying to get that thing thrown together so that he could drive it from Michigan to Colorado.
Okay.
And we started planning on that about like 6 months beforehand, thinking, oh, we've got plenty of time to do this. And then he was just having a heck of a time finding an engine and transmission and parts for it, that by the time he finally had pretty much everything, it was 14 days before he was leaving. So we were like, shoot, let's just start throwing everything at it and see if we can get this thing done in time. And man, that one makes me so mad because we had everything done on it, and then the transmission didn't have 3rd and 4th gear.
Wow. Did he drive it to Colorado anyway?
No, he ended up fixing a couple things on his truck and taking that. And the truck gave him a bunch of problems. He would have been better off just cruising at like 30 in 2nd gear.
So guys, as we get ready to wind down the show here, I just want to spend a couple more minutes talking to Josh a little bit about his channel. And Josh, why don't you tell everybody how you got started and what kind of directed you into wanting to even do YouTube? Was there somebody in particular that gave you influence, or was it you just kind of picked up the camera one day?
Kind of both, actually. For the most part, my friend Seth and I have always had like these really stupid ideas and like wanted to make movies and stuff like that. And one day he was like, we should start a YouTube channel just destroying stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm down. I got a backyard that we can destroy things in. So we had this entire YouTube channel called Us Versus Everything. And it was like 2 or 3 minute long videos where all we would do is like some beauty shots of this item and then throw it off my back deck and just destroy it. And the channel's still up there. You can still find the videos. I think there's like 10 of them maybe. And for the most part, I started my channel just to like practice editing, and then I just kept going with it.
Well, that's pretty cool. Was there an influence? Was there somebody out there that said, I think I can do that better than this guy, or if this guy can do it, so can I?
There's kind of like twofold to that. There's one, like you said, Street Speed 717. He's been well known for a while now. And he's one of the ones where I was just like kind of casually watching. And then Dick Ham, I've been watching his stuff for a while, and he was like really a small channel at the time. I think he had like 200 or 300 subscribers, and he was just having a great time doing this stuff. And I was like, maybe I should like actually keep going with the channel. So for the most part, I credit Dick Ham to like keeping me going.
Well, that's pretty cool, and I think we've all got our we've all got our person or persons that have kind of guided us down this road, and and I see guys like Street Speed and Send It Steve and even you, Josh, putting these videos together, and I'm thinking, they're doing it and they're having fun, and when it stops becoming fun, I'm sure that's probably, in my book anyways, that's when you stop doing it.
Yeah.
So we're having way too much fun, not just with our channels, but with this show. And on that note, I want to take the opportunity one more time, Josh, to thank you for being a part of the show and helping us, kind of bring in some crowds. I think I saw the numbers get up to about 25 viewers there at one point, which is actually pretty cool. It's probably the highest that we've had this season. And so thanks for coming in. Thanks for taking some time out of your night and sharing with us. And we're going to turn it over to Grant to close off the show.
Yeah, I'll give the commenters just one last chance. If somebody comes up with a great question, I'll let you guys drum one up or whatever. We might be able to get to it. But I did want to say hi to some of the people who came in here late in the game. Lowlid, X50, David McGraw, George Contreras, and Scott's Speed Shop. I wanted to say bye to. Thanks for all the offers. I was reading the comments. You apparently your dad likes to do brake line flaring, so I caught that, and he likes to do wiring, and so far not a big fan of either of those two. So anyway, I may have to make a trek down to see you to maybe take care of that. But yeah, it's again, Josh, I want to say thanks for coming on and helping us.
Yeah, no problem, man.
You know, we got probably at least 3 or 4 new faces in here, and that's what this is all about, just getting new faces in. And hopefully the new guys who came in, hopefully you found a little value to this stream, and maybe you'll tell your friends, people who want to try to grow their channels, their communities, find other like-minded car guys in our niche, creators like us doing the same kind of thing. This is what we want this show to be, kind of that gold standard for automotive car talk on Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central, 9 Atlantic. I think it's 2 Hawaii time. Actually, I think it's 3. We used to know, but
daylight savings. Who knows?
Yeah. So with that, I don't know that. Hey, Mr. Rock One. Yeah, Greg Porter, my coworker, got me started too. Oh, Eric Stenberg, you'll get the final question of the show. You're asking me when I'm going to buy a Zephyr. I'm assuming you mean Mercury Zephyr. I don't know, man. I've got a Fairmont, so it's the same thing. So I guess I'm already kind of there. But that's going to do it for this episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Don't miss the show next week. Season 2 only has a few weeks left. Jason and I will take some time off for the holidays and things like that, and we'll start up Season 3 right after the new year. We probably have 4 or 5 episodes left, so they're precious. Make sure you tune in next week. That'll do it for this episode. Until next time, peace out.